It's amazing to think that how quickly it happened. We're talking the early 60s. It was camp in your backyard, and now it's a massive international organization known as the Special Olympics. That's a really short period of time, and to a large degree, I would think, because of how the message of the Special Olympics resonates with people. How do you articulate that message, and why do you think it resonates with people?
Well, I spent 250 pages
well, I know. That's why
trying to articulate it, and
obviously
I didn't get it quite down to a sentence or a soundbite. It's interesting because there's a lot of Special Olympics people here. If you were to ask that question of all the people in the room, you'd probably get 100 different answers. The idea, but you're right. If you go to China, if you go to India, if you go to Malawi, if you go to Peru, if you go to Mexico, France, or Germany, and you go to a Special Olympics event, you will find it swarming with volunteers of every different geography, culture, political persuasion, religion. I was in Syria a few years ago with tens of thousands of people helping in Damascus, volunteering nationwide to help create big games there. And you could say the same thing in Cuba, you could say the same thing in China, you could say the same thing. I was in Malawi just a little while ago, one of the poorest countries on earth, and yet the volunteers are there. I think, in the end, I think the conclusion of this book, to me, is that when we cross a line of misunderstanding and fear with, and make a connection, a relationship with someone who, at some level, scares us, and heal the fear, we get back ourselves so much less afraid, so much more joyful, so much more able to fulfill our own distinct missions. And so I think so many people in this room came maybe once, 5, 7, 10, 12, 14 years ago. Maybe you're a mom or a dad and you chanced upon this community in an unlikely way. But you probably had some moment at which you said, wow, this is more fun than I can have just about anywhere else. And I like me here more than I like me elsewhere. I'm a better me here. I'm more free, I feel less judged, I feel less encumbered, I feel validated by other people, I feel accepted. Now the idea that a person with Down syndrome, who has been, most of whom have such a tough time, or autism, have such a tough time finding a place of acceptance, the idea that they are the agents of the if you will, the freeing of the rest of us, if there is a them and an us, which I don't even like the language. I think there's only us. I think that's what you learn at Special Olympics. There's only us.
And is that why you think it resonates with everybody across the board, and why it's been able to gather support so quickly?
Well, I think you know, my premise is that there's a deep spiritual hunger that each of us has to be free of fear. And I think, in a way, to be free of the fear of judgment of others is the greatest freedom you can have. Because if you're no longer afraid of being judged, you actually get to be whoever you think. If you know who you're supposed to be, if you've done the work to sort of dig down and say, this is my mission, I'm no longer afraid of anyone's judgment, I'm going to do this, I think that's the first satisfaction that comes from being around our movement. I think the second is that it's really joyful. And most people struggle in life to find happiness, let's be honest. Most people struggle in life to find places where people are generally happy and smile